insecure of your job कि नौकरी चली गई तो EMI कैसे जाएगी, or maybe you got married or you had a kid and that's an additional sense of responsibility. Office politics is like gravity and that boss would treat me very roughly, and yet when the promotion time comes you somehow get ignored for the promotion, you get ignored for the salary hike. Somebody else taking credit for your work, it's one of the most painful issues. Hello girls and boys, how's it going? So one of my earlier bosses used to say, office politics is like gravity. You may not see it, you may not believe in it, but it is always around you and it's always working. In this video, we will debug office politics like it were a software defect. And I will teach you from my personal experience of over 20 years on how to deal with office politics without playing it and without being a part of it. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Reproduce the problem. Now, when you're given a software bug to debug and to look at it, what is the first thing that you do? You reproduce it on your machine and see if the real problem exists or not. Similarly, if you're dealing with office politics, one of the first steps is to figure out whether that politics is only happening with you or if it is happening with a lot of other people as well. What will that tell you? It will tell you whether if the politics is happening only with you, then it could be an issue with you on how you're dealing with stuff, how you're putting stuff out. But if it is with a lot of people, then there is something larger at play. It could be a boss which is messing around with everybody. It could be the company culture. It could be things which are outside your own personal control. I'll give you an example. So at one time, I was working in an organization for a couple of years, and then a new boss came in. And that boss would treat me very roughly. You know, any idea that I had would be outrightly rejected. Any comment that I made would not be taken well. It was not going well. And then I applied the same principle and started checking if the same thing is happening with my colleagues who were his direct reportees, if that's happening with them as well. And what I figured out is all of us who were oldies in the organization, the same treatment was being melted out. And people that he had bought in with him, they were getting a different treatment. What did that tell me? It's not about me, it's about my boss and it deserves a different level of treatment. How to deal with it? If the problem is with you, then you gotta watch this video very carefully. If the problem doesn't seem to be with you and it's somewhere else, go get a nice drink and then watch the rest of this video. Chapter number 2. Reproduce the problem in a previous release. Now, one of the fundamentals of debugging is, if you see a problem in this release of the software, then go to the previous release and see if you can reproduce the same problem. What we're trying to figure out is, where did the problem start? We're trying to trace the source of the bug. Similarly, if you're having a problem at work, if you're dealing with politics as work, figure out if this has happened with you before. For example, if you're feeling that you're getting too much work on you, figure out if this has happened with you in the past. With a different boss, did you see this happen? In your previous organization, did you see that happen? You're trying to spot a pattern here. And how do you deal with it? Once you know the origin of the problem or patient zero, then you know what could be the treatment protocols. Then you know how to start solving it. Now comment previous release if you have seen problems in your own life repeating. Do you always find a lousy boss? Do you always tend to overwork? Are you always missed for promotions? Do you never find good colleagues? All of these are symptoms, and see if you have been having this for a couple of years across organizations, across teams, across bosses. Work on that. And if you see a similar pattern in your life, comment previous release. Chapter number 3 is reading the logs. Once you know the source of the problem, then you start reading the logs and start figuring out what the heck happened. So what does that mean? That means, let's say our previous example of you being overworked. Let's say you figured out it is happening since the last 2-3 years. Now you have to figure out what happened 2-3 years back. Did you get promoted and did you become a lead? And you thought everything is your responsibility, and from that point on you have not been able to say no to additional work. Or did you pick up a big hefty home loan 3 years back, and because of that you're slightly insecure of your job कि नौकरी चली गई तो EMI कैसे जाएगी, and that is why you're picking up whatever comes your way. Or maybe you got married or you had a kid, and that's an additional sense of responsibility, and that's why you're behaving the way you behave. Read the logs and figure out the pattern and the root cause. Chapter 4, setting breakpoints. Now, like we do in programming, once we know what the issue is, then we try and make some changes and put breakpoints and see if that change is carried forward to that breakpoint. If that breakpoint receives the expected values in the variable that you have changed uske upar. What does that mean? You need to set breakpoints in your debugging process of office politics as well. What does it mean? It means if you've got too much work, you can't just straight up start saying no to everybody. That's not your personality. It'll not work. But what you can do is you can learn some techniques to say no. For example, when somebody gives you additional work, you can say, hey, I have this thing 1 to do and this thing 2 to do on priority for the next 2 days. Now, because you're giving me this, give me guidance on which one of 1 or 2 can I drop so that I can pick this one. It's a subtle way of saying no, but it prioritizes yourself and your own mental health as against anything else. This is a skill of prioritization and a skill and the ability to say no, which can be learnt in any good management training. If this doesn't work, try something else. See the code change, make a change to the code and see if passes the debugging point. Make some changes in the way you're approaching and see if it works. Get yourself trained, and these trainings can very well come from your organization itself. If you go and talk to the L&D folks, the learning and training department, they already have these kind of trainings designed. Chapter 5, code breaking in the staging environment. Now, if you have submitted a fix, it works great on your machine, it works great on the dev environment, but when GitLab is deploying that code onto the staging environment breaks. What is happening here? You've done all the work, you're good at it, and you are expecting the organization to automatically come and respect you, to award you, to give you that promotion. Why? Because you've done the work, you've done your job. Now it's the organization's turn to reward you for that. And yet, when the promotion time comes, you somehow get ignored for the promotion, you get ignored for the salary hike. So what happened here? The truth is very, very simple. You and your manager are not running in the same environment. You are tuned for hard work and self-recognition. Your manager is tuned for influence, presentation, visibility. Different paths, different result, different expectations. So how the heck do you handle this? Well, you learn to align to the expectations of the manager. For example, if he expects visibility, just doing your work is not good enough. It is very naive to say, मैंने तो अपना काम कर दिया है, अब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन भी अपना काम करे, मुझे recognize करे. Yeah, sure, in an ideal world, it happens. It happened when you have 2-3 years of experience because you had a good boss. Now the world is different, my friend. The laws of the universe have probably been tweaked around a little bit. So what do you need to do? You need to present your work properly. You need to highlight your work. Now, of course, don't start bragging about your work all the time and be an a-hole. But when you achieve something tangible, learn how to highlight your work. Subtly highlight your work to your boss, to your team, to your peers as well. I'll give you an example. I was in this kind of a situation once, a couple of years back. And what did I do? I made it my life's bloody mission to ensure that my manager would get at least one email a month which would say Savinder has done a great job. And that also from his peers or his seniors. Every single month, I made sure other people recognized my good work. Now, this is called self-branding, and it's a skill that can be learned. So, comment self-branding if you've had this issue where you've been ignored in the past for promotion, for salary hikes, and things like that. And tell me if I should make a dedicated video on how to create your own mini self-brand within your organization. Comment self-brand. Chapter number 6. Someone else taking credit of your feature. Let's say you spent a couple of weeks developing a brand new feature and you release it to the higher environments, and then somebody else creates a 3-line wrapper around your feature and ships that, and that feature and that person names get recognized as the person who wrote the feature. Somebody else taking credit for your work hits really, really hard. It's one of the most painful issues to deal with because you feel defeated, you feel dejected. We have all been there. It's happened to almost every one of us one time or the other. So how do you handle this? Number 1, document your contributions every single time all along the way. What does that mean? Once you do your work, send out emails, send out summaries, send out design notes, or do demos, or talk about what you have done on the Teams channel. It's not showing off, it is creating subtle evidences which is planting, which you can pick up later on along the way. Number 2 is giving credit to others where deserved. Now this might seem counterintuitive that you're looking for credit but you're giving others credit. But that's how the universe works. When you give somebody enough credit when they deserve it, they will turn around and give you credit when you deserve it. It's the law of the universe. You do it enough number of times and it will come back. Trust me, that's how the world operates. There could be some a-holes in between, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about a general picture. The next one, which is very, very important, is to build alliances, not isolated excellence. What does that mean? As you progress in your career, the technical skills alone are not enough most of the times. You need people around you, in your team, in your vicinity, in the teams around you, across the organization to recognize you as an expert and to seek your counsel, whether officially or unofficially. That's what matters. Just being brilliant and sitting in a corner and being a complete idiot about it won't take you very far. You need people to talk well about you in the rooms where you're not present. And the only way that happens is when you do the same to enough number of people, enough room. That's how the world works. So chapter 7, being labeled difficult to work with, it's only when you're giving honest feedback. So let's say your style is to talk direct without any sugarcoating, and you would give that feedback directly. Now it's not about the feedback alone. It might be great feedback, it might be very pertinent, but if you're always very direct and to the face, most of the times people will not like it and you will be seen as slightly abrasive. And a manager wouldn't like an abrasive person in his or her team. it is not again about the quality of the feedback. It is how the feedback is delivered. It is the words, it's the emotion behind it. That is what is coming at play here. So how do you deal with this? Simplest trick is, if you know that you're a little harsh and direct, always ask for permission to give your feedback. For example, you can say something like this: hey, I have some thoughts which might make this idea slightly better, or which might help the solution past these two issues. I have an idea, can I share it? When you ask for permission, you are asking for entry into that person's safe space, and then your feedback is taken much more positive. The second and the most important point here is the timing of the feedback. Now, if a direct feedback is given in a time of an emergency, of a situation, it is often perceived as confrontational. However, if you wait for some time, if you wait for a couple of hours, wait for the evening and then give that feedback, it will be taken much more positively. The problem is not what you say, the problem is when you say it also, and more importantly than that, how you say it. So chapter 8, validating your fixes from business users, not just QA professionals. I'll explain what I mean. So you've built a great feature and your QA team has okayed the feature. And then you come into UAT, the user acceptance testing. And that's where the real users, the business users come in and they reject your application or they reject your functionality. Why? Because these are the real users. These are the people who matter, not the QA professional who's just doing a QA job. Now, I'm not belittling the QA function as such. Please understand the merit of and the context of this conversation. How is it related to office politics? Your organization, your boss, your peers might be of a different category, and maybe you're not gelling well in that organization, in that setup. And for whatever reason, you can't change the organization just yet, because maybe it's the market situation is not right, you have a personal situation at home, whatever it is, you can't change the organization. So what do you do? And the organization, for whatever reason, is not accepting you, is not appreciating you. Then what do? You go to UAT, you go to users of the system, you go external. You go out in the industry, and that's where you get your validation from. What does that mean? You start speaking at conferences, you start writing blogs, you start writing articles, you get your work published in internationally known magazines, articles, and symposiums. You get yourself recognized by writing on LinkedIn, creating YouTube videos, whatever floats your boat. But the point is, your thought process, your content is being appreciated by others in the industry. And when that starts happening, your organization will automatically start pivoting towards you. I have personally done this, where several years back, I landed in a situation where I was not getting the validation from my enterprise. And that is really when I started taking my learn in public journey very, very seriously. So if you go to my LinkedIn profile and study it, you will find a period where there is a sudden uptick of my conferences, my blogs, my articles. There was no YouTube video back then. It was much before that. But that's when I got validation from the industry on being an expert, and then the organization slowly started pivoting. Chapter 8, put the fix in source control. Do not just patch the production environment. What does this mean? When there is a defect, when there is a problem, it is very tempting to patch the production environment and say problem solved, job done. But you know it will come back again because the source code is not fixed. When you deal with office politics, it is very easy to change your organization, to change your boss and apply that patch in production. But unless you go deeper, unless you go within and fix the source code, fix the being, fix your habits, fix the way you behave, this will again reproduce with the next boss, with the next organization, that I can promise you. And the only way to work around this is to change yourself, is to figure out the things that are in your control, and figure out the things that you cannot control. Because your career is not defined by one manager. It is defined by your awareness of yourself, your confidence, and your ability to protect your mental space. Treat your career like a long running program, like a marathon. Fix you can, patch what you need to, and ignore what does not matter. And when the environment becomes impossible to bear over a large-ish period of time, not impulsive, then it's time to probably move the organization, because your mental health is what matters the most. Hope this video made sense. And if you want me to go deeper in any topic on what you've heard, put it in the comments and I will see what best I can do. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.